No, you're fine. All right, so we're going to go through the 824, 850, 950. We're going to talk about setup. We're going to talk about wiring because you guys are going to have to deal with this thing later on in life, right? And there's also some good troubleshooting stuff that we can deal with the 824, 850, and 950. So, all right, let's start with the 824. This is our color touchscreen stacked. Okay, it's a 4-inch screen, so it is a fairly small screen. Okay, guys, whenever you put one of these on, record the AUID number when you record the serial number. Okay, this is very important because when they connect up to Nexia, we'll talk about in a minute, you guys can actually go in and see what's happening with that stat and see up to a 30-day history with it. Okay? Yeah.
Does that apply to all three of those stats?
Yes.
24, 850,
950 is a little limited in the data right now,
yeah.
and I'll talk more about that later.
He actually called me and told me to change my filter.
Nice.
Yes.
You sent him a bill?
I should.
You should, yeah.
No, there's certain error codes, and I'll pull up mine and I'll show you the error code because I need to change my filter and still haven't done it. But the variable speed actually gives you a 18507 error code. And that basically is low drive speed with a high output current, and that's change your filter. That's what that is. You've got an airflow issue is what it boils down to. All right, so this is a Wi-Fi stat. It can also be connected up Ethernet, which is basically the Cat5 cable. Okay, so you can actually run a Cat5 cable to this stat because we do have those homeowners that absolutely do not want Wi-Fi in their house because they're afraid it's going to bake their brain, or somebody's going to steal all their information via Wi-Fi, something like that. So we do have those homeowners, and that accommodates them. Nexia, basically, guys, the Nexia stuff is so the homeowners can connect up to their cell phone, cameras, door locks, thermostats, light modules, appliance modules, outlets, light switches, garage door openers, water sensors, motion detectors, door switches. What else am I missing, Ken? Blind modules, so they can actually control their blinds via their cell phone or tablet.
TVs, on and off.
Yeah, on and off on TVs and home entertainment systems. They can actually set up scenes where they dim down the lights, turn on the home entertainment system, and shut the blinds all at the same time with one button push. Okay, so there's some cool stuff going on that homeowners want, and with the Nexia, they use something called Z-Wave product, which is kind of a wireless signal like Bluetooth. Okay, and they all interconnect. Okay, and I'll talk a little bit more about that here in a second. But this has the ability to connect to Nexia, and Nexia will do that home intelligence system for them. Okay, and now, just so you guys know, if they connect to Nexia with up to 4 thermostats, it's free. Once they do anything beyond 4 thermostats, there's a charge to it. Okay, but the nice thing is what some dealers are telling homeowners, especially homeowners my age, Ken's age, hey, you set your stat up. You get a camera pointed at the front door or pointed in the back door, wherever the kids come in, and put a door lock on. When the kids punch in the code for the door lock, you get a text message. So you can go on your phone, pull up the camera, see which kids came home and with whom.
I got a question. So is it just 4 thermostats, or what if they're like, can I do a thermostat, a camera, and 2 door locks? Is that free, or does it
No,
gotta be
it's
just
only
4 thermostats?
only stats.
All right.
Up to 4 stats. If they go beyond 4 stats, there's a charge.
Okay. And then
Okay.
charges vary per
Nope.
camera, door lock. It's just
Nope.
a
It's
flat
flat
fee.
charge.
What is the flat charge?
$9.99, I believe.
A
Yeah,
month?
it's on a 10
A month, yeah. It's like $10 a month.
That's cheap.
Okay. And so, I mean, they can, whether they have 1 camera or 10 cameras, it's the same price. Whether they have 5 cameras, 3 door locks, and 22 light modules or switches or whatever, it's all the same price.
Recording the
It's
cameras,
the same price.
it wasn't a little bit more if they go
Nope.
over certain. Okay.
I think there is an extra charge if they want to do a large volume record, but they can actually set it up so if a motion detector goes off, the camera starts recording for a set amount of time, stuff like that. So You know, there is some home security features in this. That really didn't mean to go this far into it, but there is stuff like that as well. So this is a big thing for homeowners, okay? It's easy to install and configure, okay? It is a hardwired stat, so you do have to have a comment, okay? It's 5 heat, 2 cool, all right? So when we're doing, Donovan's actually gonna end up with one of these here shortly, but he's gonna get an 824 stat, so he's gonna have a W1, 2, and 3 because he's got a TAM7 with 15K dub. Actually, I think he only have 10K dub. So he only needs a W1 and W2, but let's say he had 15K dub, all right? And he gets a 2-stage heat pump, for example, all right? So now we got 2 stages of heat and 3 stages of auxiliary, all right? And what that means is efficiency and comfort. Because if we bang on all 15K dub at once, we could have the possibility of overheating the house, right? And we do overshoot that when we do like a Honeywell stat. Sometimes we'll overshoot the house when the auxiliary heat comes on, right? Okay, well, with this, it stages each set of auxiliary heat, so we overshoot less often, okay? We don't have those issues. And then we're not dimming the lights when all 15K dub kicks on, right? Because that can happen as well, and that can create a homeowner complaint. All right, so 5 heat, 2 cool. All right, it is heat pump compatible. Okay, gas, forced air, hydronic. Okay, the SOV is configurable. So guys, you can use this as your service stat. All right. So what I'm telling you is you can take the 8320, instead of using the 8320, you can use this 814 because you can tell it, hey, the switchover valve is energized in cooling like a Trane, or energized in heating like a Maristar, York, Coleman, Rheem, Rude. I can't remember who else. All right. Some geothermals also do that. All right. So it does give you that ability to just use this on anything. Okay. You have 2 sets of auxiliary contacts, so you can control a humidifier, a ventilation, or a dehumidifier, which of course we don't really do here, but there is that ability. So, like I said, this is a full wiring stat, 24 volt, all right? So if you're a TAM7 with a 2-stage outdoor heat pump with a humidifier, well, let's see, TAM7, we want to use that BK terminal, right? We wire BK to BK, cut the BK jumper, now the stat controls the variable speed fan, all right? So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, plus 2 more for the humidifier. How many times do we have 12 wires in a stat? Never, right? So we may have to pull new wires with this one or pull more wires. Also, outdoor temp sensors, okay? We want to make sure that those are getting in separate cables. Here's what's going on. When we use the 2 of the wires for the outdoor sense in the same cable, those wires are twisted, right? And they're intermingled and mixed up. Well, what happens is when there's noise on the AC line, it gets injected into this outdoor sensor signal, which is DC here, and it will mess up the thermostats. Honeywell's, the stats will just go blank, and then they'll come back on. And then a while later, it might be an hour later, it might be a day later, it might be a month later, it'll just go blank, and a little while later, it'll come back on. Sometimes it'll go blank and never come back up. I've seen these stats just start flashing like a strobe light, okay? And so there are some issues with using that outdoor sensor, and it's not a short, okay? It is interference coming off the AC into that DC signal. Once we separate the wires, problem goes away, okay? So pay attention to that stuff.
Don, what was that wire we used at the fire station? That twisted
Shielded pair.
Should we use that for an outdoor
No.
sensor?
Nope.
No? Okay.
As long as we get it, because it's when we use the wire that's already in the bundle, like we have a 18.8, we use 2 of them for that wire, or for the outdoor sensor. Those wires are all twisted together, and that allows for something they call crosstalk, which is basically the AC wires can inject a signal onto those DC wires, and that's what can mess up stats. And it's not just our stats, it's everybody's stat. And the more signals we're getting into houses these days, the more issues it's creating. If you guys ever want to see an interesting video, go to YouTube and search for a video that says cell phone turns on stove. Every time this guy would get a call on his cell phone, his stove broiler would kick on high. And he had a inexpensive stove that had a digital display. It was a GE Hotpoint with the digital display. And every time his cell phone rang, his broiler kicked on high. All by itself. All right, we're getting some weird signals in houses, and it's creating issues in electronics, and this is one of them. And it doesn't matter if it's a Honeywell RedLink. I've seen the Wi-Fi go down on the Honeywell Wi-Fi's, and people can't figure it out. They disconnect the outdoor sensor, problem goes away. So stuff like this is going on. You got to watch out for it. Okay. All right. So just remember, full wiring. Here's where you connect the Cat5 cable. You plug the Cat5 cable right there, and it'll hold it in. When you snap the stat on, it'll plug right into the back of the stat for you. Okay, so you don't have to plug it in and then try to fit it on there. All right, you just snap it right in the back here, snap it on. Okay. All right. Wiring is in there for all the guys. Okay, so the installers should be getting this right because they have exact wiring in here, so it shouldn't be an issue. Alright, so some of the homeowner features that they can get that Nexia stuff, okay? They can have local weather after they connect up to Nexia. Now, understand guys, we want these homeowners connecting to Nexia for, number one, for you guys so that you can go in remotely and see when that homeowner calls in and says, hey, my stat's not keeping the temp. You can pull up that homeowner on comfort site and say, well, ma'am, it's not keeping the temp because your set point's not right. It's keeping exactly what you got it set for. Then you can see that information, okay? Or you can see at 5 o'clock every day during the summertime, their set point's creeping off. And it does it every 30 minutes because the outdoor unit gets shut off by the power utility provider, right? Because some of them have the little shutdown device that they get $5 off their power bill.
Or load shedding or something.
The load shedding, yeah. So you can actually see that. Let's see, 7-day programmable or non-programmable. Software is field upgradable. Okay, so there's two ways to update this stat. When they're connected up to Nexia, they can go into their Nexia account on their computer and click Update Thermostat, and that will update the stat. The other option is you guys go to Comfort Site, download the software onto a flash drive, and then with every stat gets shipped one of these. It's a USB to micro USB adapter, okay? And what that is, you plug that into the side of the stat, you plug your USB in to the side, you go to Menu, Settings, Software Upgrade, okay? And then you can update the software.
I was on the site the other day and all of the links are gone for the software upgrades. I don't know, maybe they're updating their links, but I needed to get a 950 upgrade.
Was it on Comfort Site or?
Comfort Site.
Okay, they've been in the process of changing that, and they did just update the links. So that's probably what was going on. It's on there now.
Yeah.
And what happened is we had everything on Trane.com where everybody, any homeowner could get to it and do the updates themselves. Well, we actually had problems with hackers stealing that information, breaking what they call source code, which allows them to get into the stat information, and it created issues. Basically, they had hackers calling them up and saying, hey, you have security flaws in your system, and for however much money, we'll tell you what they are. And it was basically almost an extortion scheme. It was a scheme. And so they had to pull those off the public websites and only give it to us on Comfort Site. So you will only find 950, 824, and 850 on Comfort Site now. So that's what was going on. Okay. Security settings. They have the ability to do a screen lock or a guest access lock. Screen lock means that you can't change anything on that stat without putting in a PIN number. Guest access, they can adjust the temperature 5 degrees one way or the other. Anything beyond that, they have to do the PIN number if they want to change anything beyond that. has to have a PIN
What
number.
about if the customer forgets their password for the screen lock?
There is a universal password. If you look in the install instructions for the stat, you'll find it.
1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes. The 950s are actually something different than 1, 2, 3, 4. That is going to get changed, but it's also in the install instructions. Okay?
I locked mine, and that's the only way I got left. Oh, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yeah.
So you had A24?
No, I had a 950, but it went older one.
On his 824. The 950 does have a different one, but so it's all in the install instructions. And then the homeowners have a user setup wizard. I'll show you that here in a minute, because you guys will want to use that with homeowners when you're putting on a new stat. For you guys, you have an install setup wizard. So the first time the unit powers up, it goes right to this installation wizard. Okay? And the installers, this is what they're going to see the first time they set it up. So they hit next, they set up the time and the date. Okay? And then they set up daylight savings. Now I've had some guys tell me that during the summer, if they tell it that daylight savings is on, then it messes up their time setting, so they have to go back in and adjust the time. I need to dive into it. I haven't had a chance to do that to find out what's going on there. All right, but just be aware that might happen. Once you're done, it tells you date and time completed, installer setup pending. You hit next, it drops you right into the installer setup. So now instead of having to go through every single setting, you guys can go through the groups. So you can look at the standard settings, say, is this okay or do I need to adjust something? Okay, if everything's good, you're gonna hit next group. Okay, all of that's good. So we're gonna hit next, then go to the group 3 of 7. Group 4 of 7, and just go on until we get everything set up. If we need to adjust something here, we're going to hit edit, and then it'll walk through just this stuff. So we don't have to go through all of the other settings that we don't care about, okay, or that we don't need to change. All right. So it makes it much faster for setup and easier. And you can check stuff at a glance rather than having to go through every single one.
What's the dealer code about?
We're going to get there. Alright, so once we got the installer setup done, we go to reminders. Alright, now remember, installer setup is progressive. Okay, so if you didn't tell it it had a humidifier, it doesn't give you a humidifier. Okay, if you have just a simple system with no other accessories, and you tell it that it has a media filter, it'll give you filter timer and service timer. That's it. Okay, so it is progressive on the setup. So set up your service reminder, so you hit system service, set up 6 months or 1 year or whatever you want there. Same with any of the other ones, you touch them, you can set up that reminder, and it'll just pop up, tell them, hey, it's time to get your system serviced. All right, and it'll say dealer contact info, and they can hit that and it'll bring up your information, which brings up dealer code. Okay, so you hit next, and it's going to ask you for a 10-digit dealer code. That is your phone number that was set up in Comfort Site by whoever has administration access to Comfort Site. Okay, and so when they connect to Nexia, and you put in this dealer code, it automatically pops up your logo and all of your information in the dealer information area. Okay, that's what the dealer code is, your 10-digit phone number.
Is
So
it our main number, do you know?
yeah, and I usually
Just give me our main number. 586 946.
Yeah, 'cause I remember I talked about that a while back.
586.
I had no idea. I still skipped it the other day. I was like, I don't know what it is. And I just entered it all by hand now. That'll be nice.
Well, with these, you can enter it in by hand. I just figured that out the other day
Yeah.
too. We don't have an edit button for that information. So unless you put in the dealer code, there's no contact.
Yeah, the
So if they don't
950s.
connect to Nexia, they don't get dealer contact info. So we want to make sure they're connected to Nexia.
Yeah, the 950s, I think, the only one you can add, right?
Right.
So
The
that's what we did the other
950s,
day.
you hit the edit button, you can go and
Type it all in.
hand type all of that info, and it's painful because it's kind of slow. So, all right, you hit done, everything's done. Okay, if you canceled out of something, it would say canceled here. Okay, all right. So the homeowners, I told you, have a user setup wizard. So we're gonna hit menu, settings, user setup wizard. Alright, so the nice thing here, guys, is you can tell the homeowner, hey, I'm gonna go clean up my stuff down here. Here's your new thermostat. Here's a setup wizard to help you set this up. Go ahead and walk through this. As soon as I'm done downstairs, I'll come up, we'll go through any questions you have. And what some of our dealers have found out is they do this with the homeowner. They get up to the homeowner and say, do you have any questions on the stat? Nope, it's all done, we're taken care of. Okay, now it does take a little prep setup on your part, we'll talk about in a second, but you don't have to tell a homeowner, teach a homeowner how to do scheduling anymore. You don't have to teach them what all this stuff means. It does it for you. So, as we walk through this, user setup it says, follow the on-screen prompts, press next to get started. Alright, so the homeowner is going to go through and set up their stat however they want it. They're going to set up their screen settings, their timeout delays, their screensaver is all going to be set up by them. So you don't have to go through all this garbage, including their screen color. They're going to be able to adjust their screen color as they see fit. Okay. So once that's done, same type of deal. Display's completed, now scheduling. They hit next and it says, hey, do you want to enable scheduling? This is what it does. Well, if they disable it because they want non-programmable mode, they hit done and it skips all the scheduling stuff and automatically kills scheduling in their stat. Okay? If they hit enable, the next one that comes up is guided scheduling. And it says, hey, let's get started. This is what we're going to do. And it tells them, hey, I want you to touch away, set up your temperatures that you want for heating and cooling while you're away, then go to home, do the same, then sleep, do the same. And then the next screen asks them, hey, what time does the first person get up in the morning? What time does the last person leave in the morning? What time does the first person get home in the morning? What time does the last person go to bed at night? And so it sets all this scheduling up for them so you don't have to go through that garbage with them. Okay? Because that's probably the worst part about teaching somebody how to run a stat, right? Okay? Next is network. They hit next, it takes them to this screen, connect to a Wi-Fi network. If it's Ethernet cable, it'll automatically sense it won't even take them. It'll just say complete. They connect to a network. They put in their passcode. They're connected and done. The next one is Nexia. So it tells them, hey, go to Nexia Home, set up an account before proceeding. When they go to Nexia Home, they set up their account on their homeowner info screen. You guys need to prep them and say, hey, on this screen, down at the bottom, they'll have a checkbox that says, allow my dealer access to diagnostic information. They need to click that box so that you guys can get access remotely, diagnostically. You cannot change anything. You cannot view cameras. You cannot view switches, any of that stuff. You can't see. All you can see is what the thermostat is doing and has done. It is a viewing thing on the thermostat information only. You can't make any adjustments. Okay? So you can reassure them that you cannot see cameras, and if you want to go in, you can take them into Comfort Sight and actually show them right off your tablet, hey, this is what happens, this is what we see. This helps us so that when you have a problem, we can look at it remotely and have an idea of what's going on before we ever get out to your house. And especially with communicating product, you can see the error codes, and you can see what's been going on, what time, all of that, and I'll show you that later. Okay? So now they go to Nexia Home, set up their account, click the little checkbox, they hit next, and it asks them, hey, what do you have? Do you have a bridge or do you have a thermostat? And it shows them pictures of the thermostats. So they go, oh, well, that's my thermostat, and they click on it, and it automatically walks them through the setup process. Okay, go to your stat, hit next, put in your 5-digit code, hit next, and it'll say connecting, completed, hit done, and this will say hit done, success. Their stats connected to Nexia. That's it. Okay? So it's literally hit next, put in a 5-digit code that's on their computer, hit next on their computer, hit next here, it connects up, they hit done on their computer, they hit done here, and it pops them into this and they're done. Okay? I made my wife walk through this. Yeah.
Quick question. So this happened, I want to say it was like Monday. Homeowner, we changed out 850. Is there a shortcut to get the new stat hook back up to Nexia versus having to go back online, redo the code?
No.
You just gotta start from scratch again.
Yeah, because what happens is this sends out what's a specialized code called a MAC ID, and it will only send it to Nexia. And each stat has its own personal MAC ID number. And if you pop up, I'll pop off a stat here in a little bit, and I'll show you it's actually on there. But what happens is we got to tell Nexia, hey, that MAC ID that you're receiving goes to this account.
Yeah.
So we got to tie those back together.
Okay.
So there isn't a shortcut.
I just didn't know if we could type in a different address on the account that's pre-existing, or
No.
just a 20-minute process all over.
Yeah, and really, I think it took me 5 minutes
Yeah.
when I changed my stat. The hard part is actually finding where to delete the old stat. That's actually the hardest part.
Sometimes
And it's in menu account settings.
Yeah,
It's kind of a weird spot. I wish they just had a thing that said delete stat,
yeah.
but they don't. So, because they don't want to make it easy for homeowners to delete a stat and create a problem, right? Where they call you up and say, hey, I deleted my stat, don't know how to fix it. Well, just add the new stat, right?
Yeah.
So, now registration successfully completed. They're signed up with Nexia. Now they can get internet weather. So they hit next. This is what pops up. They hit location to change location, enter their 5-digit zip code, and it gives them their weather based on zip code.
Before you go too far, after they've done that, then they go to their phone and download the app.
Yeah, well, they don't want to download the app on their phone. From the website, the Nexia website, they can click on mobile devices, and they put in their telephone number, and it'll send them a text message with a link to download the app, and it automatically connects them. If they go and download the app, then they have to put in their user information, okay, user and password, then it connects. Now remember, a phone can only connect to one account, so if they have multiple houses, they want to set up multiple houses on one account. Once they exceed 4 stats, they're paying, okay?
On the website, put in their phone number, it sends a text,
Oh, okay.
there's the link for the app.
Yep. And once they download the app off of the text, it automatically connects them together.
So they don't have to go do those
Yeah.
codes.
The
they
guy I
have.
was at was like 78 years old. I don't know why he even wanted it on his phone, but that would help a lot. That guy was killing me.
Oh, man.
Hey, you know what? There's homeowners that we don't want to give them all this info, right?
Well, this dude was like super techy. I mean, he was all there for his age, but I was like, wow, man. All right.
Oh, that's awesome.
5 million questions about it.
All right. Now remember, something with internet weather. This does not give us the ability to control outdoor temperature or control a system based on outdoor temperature with internet weather. We need a hardwire outdoor stat to do auxiliary lockouts, compressor lockouts, those type of things. Okay? We cannot do lockouts based on that. Okay? Alright. And then it says internet weather is completed. They hit done. It takes them back to their home screen. It's all done. They are done with the user setup wizard. And again, most of the time they're going to be like, all right, we got this. The only thing you may have to show them is their variable speed fan adjustment. They hit on, they hit fan, and it comes up auto, on, or circulate. If they select on or circulate, fan options pops up. They hit fan options. They can adjust their fan speed and their circulate times. Okay? All right. New set point panel. So this is a small screen. Okay? And one thing we found out with the 950s having the set point right here is homeowners got confused between set point and room temp. Alright, and it created phone calls for you. So we built this stat after the 950, so we put the set point way over here on the right. They touch here, okay? So they got set point there, room temp here, they touch here, and this pops out. So now they can adjust their temperature right here. Okay? If they've disabled zoning, this will all be blank, and they can adjust just their heat and cool settings.
Can't you also touch where the 75 is? On the 850s, I know you can at least touch there.
Yeah, you can touch
that
here.
Pops up.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's actually either location. You can touch here or here, and this pops out.
they got sausage fingers like Donovan. That's what I was telling them. Touch right here. Dude.
The love is astounding. All right. Whichever one's bright is the one they're adjusting, right? So if the blue up top is bright, they're adjusting cooling. This will be blue here. If they're adjusting heating, they touch here. This will go bright. These will change to red. Okay. After about 60 seconds, that'll pop back in automatically and go back to the normal screen.
Are they ever gonna make these stats a little bigger?
Hold on to that.
Is that in the pocket?
The answer is not these stats, no, but we're going to talk about that later. All right, 824 will also give us critical alerts or major alerts. Remember, a critical alert is heating or cooling is down. Major alert is so we've lost something that's changing how the system functions, but we still have a heating and cooling operation. Okay, so an outdoor temp sensor would be a major alert. A thermostat failure could cause a critical alert. With the 824, because it's not communicating, we don't have a whole lot of alerts that we can really have, right? Outdoor stat, indoor temp sensor, something like that would be a major, would be an alert that could happen. Indoor temp sensor failure would be a critical alert. Outdoor would be a major, because we've lost all of our lockouts because we lost the outdoor temp, but we still have heating and cooling. If we lose the indoor temp sensor, we're just hosed, right? So it doesn't know what to do. Okay, so that'd be a critical alert. And it pops up here, homeowner hits here, it comes up, shows them 004.01. All right, and they said, that's the error code I've got. So you guys know that you've got an outdoor temp sensor failure. So it's either a wire, an outdoor sensor, or the stat, right? Okay. And you'll also see this on Nexia Diagnostics. I'll show you in a little bit. In the service menu, if you guys go into the service menu, you hit menu, service, press and hold technician access, then hit proceed. You can hit diagnostics, hit current alerts, just like on the 950s, and you'll have the same type of screen. All of your, in the install instructions, all of your setups and what they mean are over here, okay? I get a lot of questions about defrost heater balance point. Realistically, guys, you're almost never gonna deal with these until you've got that engineer from the site that's figured out he can save 30 cents a month by not kicking on his defrost until it's 45 degrees outside.
It's not a bad idea, really.
Well, it's not bad, but how many of you can sit down and figure out exactly where the economic balance point is when the unit goes into defrost? We're going to kick on auxiliary heat at this outdoor temperature. And then we'll allow W2 to kick on at this outdoor temp. Because you're talking about thermal balance points, you're talking about economic balance points, and mixing the two. How many of you are going to sit down and do that math?
No.
No.
You're gonna have a lot of time on your hands to do that.
And what's an engineer going to do?
Let's figure it out.
Figure it out.
Sorry, this stat's not capable, but I can upsell you one that is.
And there's your bonus. Anyway, but you can do that. That's what those are. Is basically saying, hey, don't allow auxiliary heat, W1 to turn on until this outdoor temp during defrost. Don't allow W2 to kick on during defrost until this outdoor temp. Same with W3. Okay, that's what all of this is. Realistically, guys, you will almost never use this, but you might have that engineer from the site that's going to kill you. Okay. Sometimes those guys are better sent to competition. I'm just kidding. Sometimes. Anyway, this is something you might end up using. Okay. So what this is this is first stage lockouts based on outdoor temp. Again, you have to have a hardwire outdoor sensor, right? Internet weather will not give you these capabilities. Okay. So compressor cooling first stage lockout, compressor heating first stage lockout, and furnace heating first stage lockout. So you can tell it, hey, you know what, when we get to this outdoor temp, don't even run first stage cooling. Just go right to second stage because we know we need it. Okay? So like you could set first stage cooling lockout at 100 degrees. Because we know at 100 degrees, we're going to have to be cranking this unit, right? So why even run first stage? To create a 10-minute time delay to lose more temp in the house? These are mostly for fixing those type of issues where the homeowner says, you know, it drops 2 degrees in my house at 100 degrees outside before the unit starts recovering. Okay? we can fix those issues, and that's how it is. Same with first stage heat pump. Hey, you know what? Just skip first stage heat pump at 30 degrees outside and go right to second stage, because we know what first stage isn't going to keep up anyway. So let's go right to second stage and get it done. Okay, so we can do that. All right, that's the only time you're really going to use these, but you could use them.
And find those in group 7 of those settings?
Yep, so it's in group 7. Now, you won't have these settings unless you put an outdoor sensor on and tell it that it has an outdoor temp sensor, right? So, again, it's discovery setup, so if you didn't set up an outdoor temp, you don't get any of this, including auxiliary lockout, which for PTCS they have to have, right? So, any other questions on the 824? Okay, 850 is exactly the same as the 824 except for it's communicating. Really, that's the difference between these two. Functionally, the homeowner cannot tell the difference. Okay? Now, instead of having all of those wires, you guys have RDMB. And you can go to the relay panel that we use for the 950. We can use that same relay panel on the 850 and tie this to 24 volt equipment. Okay? So when you're looking at it, this is a communicating stack. So we can go communicating furnace, RDMB to communicating furnace or air handler, and then DMB to the outdoor variable speed unit, right? Okay. Now, one thing I haven't told you, with the new S9V furnace, we can do RDMB to the relay panel, okay? 850 S9V2 only. RDMB to the relay panel, DMB to the variable speed AC, has to be a variable speed AC, and then 24 volt wiring to the S9, BK to BK, cut to BK jumper. Okay, we can control a variable speed communicating outdoor unit with the S9 furnace with an 850 in a relay panel. Variable speed AC, S9 only, has to be the 850 with the relay panel. Okay?
AC only.
AC only, no dual fuel. And we cannot do it with the TAM7 either. Okay? Everybody got that? 850 relay panel, S9V, variable speed AC. No heat pumps. And Rick Arrigo, I don't know if you guys remember Rick, he has this set up at his house. So he's got an S9, a variable speed AC, an 850 and a relay panel. Okay. Alright, so I told you we had to have 12 wires, plus the 2 for the outdoor sensor, right? Because we had TAM7 with a 2-stage heat pump and a humidifier. Well, now if we use the relay panel, we've got RDMB to RDMB on the relay panel, outdoor sensor ties to the relay panel, indoor and outdoor unit ties to relay panel. Now you don't have to repull the stat wire. Okay, because in some cases repulling a stat wire is a 2-hour, 3-hour process for 2 guys, right? Well, you know, the $50 or $20, whatever the difference between the 824 and another $100, $150 for the relay panel, whatever that is, can end up being a whole lot cheaper than a couple hours labor for a couple guys, right? Ken's gonna make that decision for you, right?
Right.
Okay. But if you got an 824 and you're gonna have to repull stat wires, you probably ought to be talking with Ken. Find out if he really wants you to repull wires or if we're gonna go with an 850 with the relay panel.
If it's a tight crawl space, tight attic, we're pulling wire.
There you go. You guys swim, right? You got
Yeah.
the snorkel for swimming through the insulation?
I don't swim very well.
Yeah, neither do I. I don't swim at all
Yeah, seems
anymore.
like a
Anyway, all right. If you're doing a mod 95, RDMB to RDMB on the mod 95, and then you can go Y1 to YMB on a single stage AC. You don't need the relay panel. If you're doing a communicating furnace with a single stage air conditioner, So this is going to be mod 95 or XC80. Okay. Usually when I see this is when somebody says, hey, I want to do the furnace now, and I want to do a communicating outdoor unit next year. That's usually when I see this, and you guys have done that a couple of times. Okay? So watch out for that. You can also do RDMB to RDMB on the relay panel, RDMB, and then we can go to a heat pump or multi-stage AC off of the relay panel. Okay? And this you've also done. Mod 95, you set the relay panel, set a 2-stage or any heat pump. Okay? And what happens is mod 95 stays in communicating mode, so now we get that demand-based modulation that we like in communicating mode. Then we also get the heat pump or multi-stage AC out here. Okay? You guys have also done this setup as well. Okay? Now the last is the TAM8. You guys have also done this and had issues with this, right?
Right.
RDMB to RDMB on the TAM8 because the TAM8 is communicating only. We cannot put any sort of 24-volt control, even temporarily, on the TAM8. Okay, that'll be changing later on in life, probably a year to 2 years, and I'll talk about that then. Okay, we're going to add the compressor control module. That's that little board that we add right next to the electronic valve control board. Okay, that activates the Y1, Y2, and O on the airflow control board, right? Now we take to non-communicating outdoor unit, RB, Y1, Y2, and O. Notice no X2. The the furnace takes care of the auxiliary heat during defrost. Okay. All right. When you guys have done this, where you've added the compressor control module, because they did the air handler this year, and now next year they're doing the variable speed outdoor unit. You guys have had an issue where you come in, pull off the old outdoor unit, put on the variable speed outdoor unit, and now you've got multiple outdoor unit error codes, right?
Mm-hmm.
We battled this one a while back. As soon as you pulled off the compressor control module, reset the stat, second outdoor unit went away, right? So whenever you guys pull off a non-communicating outdoor unit and go to a communicating outdoor unit, you've got to disconnect the compressor control module. Remove it from the TAM8. Okay? Because that was a problem a while back. And that created all sorts of headaches.
I
Alright?
remember that.
And Ken and I finally got that one figured out.
It was you and Don.
Yeah, I was gonna
Donovan
say.
and I. Yeah, that one was fun. Because it took a little bit to figure that one out. So, with communicating equipment, we get a lot more alerts, right? Because now we know when things are happening. Current alerts are alerts that are currently happening. All right. Alert history is alerts that have happened within the last 30 days. So I get a lot of questions. Hey, I've got a current alert right now. How do I get rid of it? Fix the problem. Once you fix the problem, then it goes into alert history. So if it's an outdoor temp sensor error, fix whatever's causing the outdoor temp sensor, problem goes away and goes into the alert history. Okay? With the variable speed outdoor unit, let's say you're in a hard lockout, well, you gotta cycle the power to get rid of the hard lockout, right? And you gotta cycle it off for 2 minutes, not 30 seconds, 2 minutes minimum, okay? Tell homeowners 5 minutes or 10 minutes, okay? Because their 2 minutes is a whole lot shorter than our 2 minutes. Because we look at a watch when we say 2 minutes, right? They go, okay, well, I think it's been about 2 minutes. And they call back, it didn't fix it. Okay, so critical alerts again, loss of heating and cooling operation. Major alerts, we have some functionality issues. Okay, so critical alert would be a hard lockout. Okay, major alert would be like in zoning, discharge air sensor is a major alert. We lose zoning, so we lost some system functionality, but we still have heating and cooling operation. Okay, service call is not immediately required. Service call is immediately required here. Okay? Red, yellow. We also have normal alerts, which are white. Okay? Homeowners may not see this. You guys may only see this when you go out for a service call or a clean and check. So what happens here is this is signified by a white triangle. It adjusts how the system function happens, but the homeowner's not notified of it, okay? Normal alerts only show up in current alerts or alert history, okay? So an example of a normal alert would be an indoor coil frost protection. That would be a normal alert, because if it's 40 degrees outside like it is now, well, it's about 50 now, but if it's cooling right now, frost protection would be a normal alert.
I'm running into that with a machine right now. They wanna run it 65 degrees in the house and 50 degrees outside.
You're gonna get frost protection alerts. It's gonna happen.
After so many normal alerts, will it go into a major or critical?
In most
Alerts?
cases, no. On low suction pressure, yes.
That's, yeah, that's one.
Okay.
That below that 78 PSIG for 10 minutes.
That creates the indoor coil frost protection, because 78 psi is 28 degrees. Okay. Once we've hit 28 degrees for 10 minutes, it says, okay, we're freezing up our coil. Sends an alert to the stat, says, hey, we're shutting down our coil frost protection, and it's purely low ambient. This is normal when we're below 65 degree ambient temperature and we're cooling. That's normal, especially if we're trying to run a room temp of 65 degrees. Air conditioner, you know, our residential air conditioners, they're not made to hang meat in a house, right? Okay, so we have those homeowners that are peculiar. And so this type of this type of an alert would be what we'd consider a quote unquote normal alert that's going to happen periodically. Now, if it's 90 degrees outside and 75 in the house, we're getting indoor coil frost protection. Okay, maybe we need to go dig into that one, right? Because we shouldn't be having a frost protection. Okay, so normal alerts may or may not need more checks. Okay. All right, summary table. Error 126 is my favorite error. So if you get into the service menu, service, press and hold technician access, proceed, you're in the service menu. You've got diagnostics as one of the selections, okay? And you've got current alerts, alert history, and summary table. When you get error 126, you need to go to summary table. Because that means something that was talking is no longer talking, okay? Go check the outdoor unit, is it off? Did they get the clean effects door plugged back in or turned back on, or the door on properly? Did the puppy chew through the insulation in the 18-2 wire going to the outdoor unit? Alright. Did the siding guy come in and shoot 2-inch siding staples through our wires? This happens, right? Also, the hiss is usually a bad sign as well. That never happens, right? Okay, you're going to go to error 126 and it's going to tell you, hey, what device is off? And it'll tell you indoor unit online, outdoor unit online, clean effects offline. Okay, we got a problem with the clean effects we need to dive into, right? If they're all offline, we know there's a short somewhere in the system, or the stat can't talk to anything. Okay, so we have a stat wire issue. Okay, so that's kind of how we can dive into those. Remember, 13 volts DC is good communication. 16 is open. We have a broken wire somewhere. 0 volts is a short. Okay, a short brings down the whole communicating system, by the way. So everything would show offline.
What were those again, Aaron?
13 is good. 16 is an open. 0 is a short.
So open, you mean is not calling?
It's a broken wire
Oh, it's a broken one.
or a broken connection. So at the outdoor unit, if it's not connected to the indoor unit, you will get 16, I think it's like 16.7 volts DC right there. Roughly 16 volts. Okay. The relay panel or the communicating indoor unit is what creates the 12 volts DC. Okay? So that's where we're going to start checking voltages, either at the relay panels or at the stack. If we've got 0 volts, disconnect everything, check it again. Within about 10 seconds, if everything's disconnected, that voltage should come back up to 13 volts. Okay? So the relay panel and the indoor unit create the DC voltage.
We've only had one variable speed short, but it was all the way in Auburn.
Of course it is. It's never nearby. Guaranteed. If it's a problem, it's going to be an hour away, right?
Middle of winter too.
Huh?
Middle of winter too.
Of course.
Over the pass. Never fails.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
I remember that one.
Yeah.
All right. Any questions on the 850, 824? All right, let's jump into the 950 real quick. This is a 3-wire stat as well. This is our big 7-inch screen. This is the big one, right? Okay. Now here's what I'm talking about where homeowners would get confused on set points and room temps. And they'd start adjusting this and then they'd call you up, hey, every time I hit this button, the room temp changes. No, that's your set point. All right, so they had issues because these were too close together. Okay? We're going to talk more about that in a minute. All right, so 7-inch screen, this is our zoning stat, right? So if we're doing the zoning system, this is the stat we use. Now remember, guys, if you're dealing with an old Trane zoning system and you've got a failed part in that zoning system other than a damper, you're swapping out the whole zoning system. We can't get parts, we can't get stats, we can't get boards. Any of that type of stuff is gone. Okay, they got to swap out the whole zoning system. So I don't care whether it's a zone board or the main controller board or the main control stat on that old zoning system. It doesn't matter. All of it's gone. They're not making those parts anymore. You got to go and convert it to the new zoning system. The old dampers work on the new zoning system. Okay? So just be aware of that.
So they just have to replace the board, essentially, because the old dampers you said will work.
Yep.
But
The
those
board
stats-
and the stats. Right? That's really what they're replacing. Now, remember, on our zoning system, I'll talk about that in a second, it has to be variable speed indoor. On the old zoning system, it didn't. On this one, it does. Okay? Alright, Wi-Fi capable stat. It's, again, 5 heat, 2 cool heat pump stat. Software upgradable via SD card only right now. With the 950, that won't change. It is only SD card. You can only get it off the comfort site, excuse me.
What version are we on right now?
4.0.3. There will be another one coming out here in the next couple of months. And I'll send out an email to Scotty, Scott Williamson, your rep, and he'll let you guys know when that's available. Okay. There will only be one more update for the 950s. I'll talk about that here in a minute. 10-year registered warranty on any of our stats. So if you sell a homeowner a stat for their Linux system, because that's your replacement stat, you guys can register the stat because I believe you guys are registering all equipment for your homeowners, correct?
No, just retros.
Just retros, okay. The homeowner can register that stat and get 10-year warranty on that stat only. Okay? Otherwise it reverts to 5.
Is that 850, 820,
Yeah, it is all of our stats, yes.
T-Con 802, T-Con 602?
802 and 602, no, that's still 5-year.
And you cannot register through the stat.
No, you have to go
Online.
on Trane.com, customer support, register equipment. They can register a stat only. They don't have to register a full system, and they'll get that warranty. Okay. All right. Relay panel. We can go RDMB to RDMB. All right. Control a 24-volt system. Right. All right. Remember BKPWM for variable speed units, right? Non-variable speed units will not have that BK terminal. BK is how we control the fan. All right. We actually had some issues. If you're running dual fuel, which means gas and heat pump, switch has to be in the dual fuel position, right? Does some funny things when it's not. we've actually changed this. It used to just say thermostat, now it says thermostat and indoor unit. This is probably gonna change to thermostat and equipment. Because your heat pump R&B is gonna wire right here, your indoor unit R&B is gonna wire right here.
They all lay just right on top of each other.
I was gonna say, did someone actually call and ask that question?
Yes. I have had that phone call. Hey, where do I hook R&B for, well, usually it's, hey, the zone panel, or the relay panel won't light up.
Should tell them, you gotta go take the panel off the wall, and there's 3 spades in the very, very back.
You have to hook it up to your car battery.
I'm serious, guys. I get these phone calls. So yeah, that's why that's actually changed to indoor unit, and they're talking about changing it to just say and equipment, or add outdoor unit, indoor/outdoor unit. There is these conversations happening at the factory because this is an actual issue. Yes, you do hook indoor unit here. Yes, you do hook outdoor unit here. Okay, it's the only R&B on this relay panel. All right, outdoor temp sensor can wire here or at the stat. Obviously, if we're putting in a relay panel, it's a whole lot easier to do it here than at the stat, right? The LEDs, you got a comm light. The bitmaster is basically power. Whenever this thing's powered up on R&B, this should be lit, right? Comm, 1 flash for every communicating device. So if you have a TAM8, a 950, a zone panel, communicating outdoor unit, and 2 other 940 stats.
6 flashes.
Right. Okay. So that's what that tells you. Okay. So now you can go, okay, I've got this, I've got this, I've got this on the data terminal, the D wires. That should create this many flashes. Okay, I'm missing something. Then you can go into that summary table, see what's talking and what isn't, and go, oh crap, I should have 7 flashes because I've got a communicating clean effects. And you go to summary table and you see, okay, indoor unit, outdoor unit, relay panel, 940, 940. Where's my clean effects? Okay, so you can see that info. All right, install the 950, RDMB to RDMB to DMB. Or we're going to go to the relay panel, then 24 volt to the equipment. You cannot do the S9 with variable speed AC on this one. You cannot use the 950 in that situation. Okay? Wiring, I've had some issues. This is a 4-wire plug here. You only use the bottom 3. BRB. The top one should stay blank. If you get off and you wire from top down, so the bottom one's blank, the stat will light up and you'll get communication errors, 91s. Okay? So if you ever get that, check your wiring. Okay? And of course, outdoor sense, remote sense wires here or at the relay panel, right? Also remember, let me back up just a second here. This shows an outdoor sensor going to the stat. If you're communicating equipment, you don't need the outdoor sensor. So ignore that, because we use the outdoor sensor in the communicating equipment for the stats outdoor sensor. So this is not even really optional. Don't even do it. Okay, ignore that. All right, like I said, ignore the top one. When we do these units, you need to pay attention to the VA usage. All right, because if you've got a 2-stage single compressor heat pump, this is an XR17 or XL18, okay, with a 24 volt furnace or a 24 volt air handler, you need 65 or 75 VA respectively. Okay, so you could be in a situation where we're going to have to upsize the transformer. Now let's add that clean effects at 17 VA on top of this. Okay, we may need to power that clean effect separately. Okay, and I've got wiring diagrams. I believe I've sent them to Ken on those as well if we need to do that.
What's the communicating air handler come with? What size of VA transformer?
I believe it's just 50 anymore. I'd have to double check that, but I believe it's 50 because communicating, most of the time we're doing a communicating unit. 35 is enough.
Plus a 17, so we're still good. Okay.
You're pushing it on that.
Pushing.
Yeah.
We like that edge.
Yeah, we love the edge. And what happens, guys, is we end up with situations where when it goes into defrost, it doesn't switch over to cooling for defrost, or the whole stat will just go blank when it goes into defrost because the voltage drops too much. Okay, so all right, let's talk about comfort link zoning. Have to have a 950. That's the master. Only one master per zone system. Okay. You need the zone panel. You want the zone panel, not the expander panel. Zone panel has a static pressure sensor for the auto zone sizing, has a discharge air sensor, and all the hardware for putting this together. Right. 940 or 0400 sensor for each of the zones, 2 through 8. Okay. We can only go up to 8 zones. If you go beyond 4 zones, you have to get the zone expander panel. Which, guys, literally the only difference between this and this is this has all of the accessories in it. This is literally a panel only. Okay? You need a variable speed furnace. So watch out for that when you're going out on the old Trane zoning system that didn't require variable speed only. Because you may have some situations where you have a TWE 036C, which is a PSC motor with the zoning system. Because we could do bypass with that one. We could do dump zones. We don't do that with this zone system. Okay? So bypass is not required or supported. You cannot do a bypass with this system. We don't allow it. Okay? Zone dampers have to be 24 volt 3-wire dampers, power open, power close. On ours, they're 1.5 V8 60 seconds. Including our old dampers are the same. Okay? 60-second travel time. We can use someone else's dampers because the travel time is adjustable 15 to 60 seconds. If you use somebody else's dampers, all the dampers have to have the same travel time. And it's going to be stamped right on the damper, the travel time. Okay? But they all have to be the same. EWC is the company building our dampers for us. Their damper timing, even though their dampers look almost exactly the same, their damper timing is 35 seconds. Ours are 60 seconds. I ran into a situation in Horseshoe Bend where they had half of the dampers Trane, half the dampers EWC, and they had all sorts of weird things and an unhappy homeowner. Okay? We changed all the dampers over to the 60-second travel time. Problems went away. We had to change some damper motors. Okay? You need to do a field supply transformer for zoning. And a lot of guys are just using the little plug-in transformers from like Platt Electric or Columbia. Okay? And so you guys don't have to have an electrician come in and wire the line voltage for you. You can plug it into the wall, run 24 volt to the panel. Okay. Relay panel if you're doing non-communicating equipment, right? So the rule is if you would need the relay panel without zoning, you need it with zoning. Okay? And an outdoor sensor if you need it. Alright, so the 940 is zone 1 only. Okay? If they can also make this just be like a keypad, if you will. Alright? And have a 940 or an 0400 sensor be zone 1. Okay? But if this is controlling a zone, it has to be zone 1. Okay? And then zones 2 through 8 is the 940 or the 0400 sensor. They use the 0400 sensor, they adjust the time, or they adjust temperature at the 940, and there will be a zone adjustment. Right? So they can pick which zone they're adjusting. Right? Okay. Zone dampers. We got round, retro, square. They are a big heavy duty damper. They're actually a really nice damper. Okay. What I want you to notice here, or want you to think about here, is follow the wiring that's laid out for this scene. Okay? Because it tells you relay panel or indoor unit. Outdoor unit, communicating outdoor unit. Okay? I want you to follow those because later on, if we got to troubleshoot it and we've got a problem with the communication cycle, we can just disconnect a D-wire here, kill everything this way, and check voltage over at the indoor unit and decide if we've got the problem there or there. And it helps with troubleshooting. Whereas if you bring everything in and just wire nut everything, now we gotta start breaking wire nuts apart, okay? Oh, on the dampers, up to 4 dampers per zone, max, okay? The other thing is I run into situations where guys have red and blue and green and yellow and orange and green and black and red and green and blue.
It's
And
fun
they're
for the
just,
next guy.
huh?
That's fun for the next guy.
Well, not only that, but if they do that, I will guarantee you they've got a wiring mistake here. Guaranteed. Every one of them that I've had to deal with, that I run into that, if I walk in on a startup and I see that, it's like, all right, let's check all the dampers. Actually, usually I make them change it. I don't care what colors we use, red, white, blue, red, white, green, I don't care. Just do it all the same. Because then it eliminates problems and it makes it easier later on troubleshooting, right? All right, let's talk about what's coming. The 1050 stat this summer is going to replace the 950 stat. The 950 is going to go away. The 1050 is going to look like this. The set point panel is over here on the side now. Okay? Helps eliminate some of that confusion. All right? It's not going to pop out because this thing's going to be about 3/4 or 7/8 of an inch wide by about 2 inches tall. So it's a decent size panel that even Donovan's sausage fingers, as Travis puts it, can hit those. All right?
Will this be a drop-in for the 950 for zoning and?
Yes.
Okay.
This is everything that the 950 does, this is going to do with one exception. It will not do the photos as a screensaver. Okay? It's not going to have the SD card slot anymore. It's going to have a micro USB slot. Okay? So everything that the 850 and 824 has that the 950 does not have, it's going to have. Because the 824 and 850 have a built-in bridge, right? And the bridge is what connects Z-Wave to the internet. This is now going to have the bridge built in. The 950 does not have the bridge built in. Okay? This will do zoning. This has the change in the set point panel to help eliminate some of that homeowner confusion. Okay? It's going to have the installer setup wizard. It's going to have the user setup wizard. Okay? So all of that's going to happen in here.
The big change I see that's gonna help is that permanent hold off on.
Yes.
People cannot find permanent hold on the 950.
And it as soon as they just attempt, it automatically pops it up there. But you're right, they have a tough time finding. Where's hold permanent or permanent hold? Well, it's PERM hold. You hit that and it stays there. But anyway, they'll actually be able to set up their screen, what their screen layout is, right from the user setup wizard. So all of that's going to happen for them when they go through the user setup wizard. Okay. So here's what we're looking at. Later on this summer, we'll have the 724, which is exactly the same thing as the 624, except for it's Wi-Fi. Okay? Some people are using this as a builder stat because it's inexpensive. The touchscreen, I don't like it as well. They're talking about doing some work with it, but this is a Z-Wave stat, so it requires the bridge to connect to the internet. Well, by the time you buy the 624 and a bridge, you're within like 20-30 bucks of the 824. So the 724 is going to fall between these two, and it will be a Wi-Fi stat. Okay. 824 we have now, the 850 we have now. The 950 is going to get converted to the 1050. It'll be Wi-Fi or Ethernet, so it'll also have that Cat5 cable on the plug, which the 950 does not have. It'll have the built-in bridge. It'll have the user and install wizards, that new set point panel. Okay, so it's going to clean it up. It's going to help us a little bit. It actually is a nicer looking stat. They rounded the corners a little bit, updated the look of it. So and they'll also update the look a little bit of the 824 and 850 next summer as well. So that's what's coming up. This one's coming. This one's coming. These two will be redesigned just a little bit. One other thing while we're talking about, at Ken's house, he's got a 950 stat. He's also got a little remote sensor next to it because he's got an air pattern in his house that will not allow the heat from the processor to come out of the stat properly. And it affects his temp sensor right here. Okay? So we've had to put a little remote outdoor sensor, or a remote sensor on Ken's stat, and it literally just sits right next to this sink. Alright? And it irritates the crap out of me that we have to do this. But the problem is when air pushes down or it just hits right against this, the heat can't naturally convect out of this stat, and it throws this sensor reading off. And I think Ken's had as much as 10 degrees.
Oh, 13, 14 degrees.
13, 14 degrees.
My house was freezing.
And it only happens certain times. I can't remember. Did we ever figure out if that was a ceiling fan or something else?
I didn't have a sit. Oh, I got a return right below it on the floor.
So whenever the blower was running, this thing would start pulling the air differently, and it'd start affecting this thing. So the air would run down the face of this stat instead of allowing that heat to naturally convect. Well, the processor's here, the temp sensor's here. So on the new 1050, the sensor's actually going to be external of the control board area, and it's going to be on the side right here, and I can show you some pictures of mine at my house. So it'll help take care of that. The 824 and 850, we're going to do the same thing with it later on in the summer as well when we redesign these just a little bit. Okay. The other thing we did is we're doing the new Wi-Fi card in the 1050, which is going to support some of the new Wi-Fi signals that are coming out. And we also made enough room on the new card so that, and this is part of the reason why the SD card had to go away, but we're actually making more room for future Wi-Fi cards. So as Wi-Fi continues to evolve, newer stats, we can have newer Wi-Fi cards in them. So, because that's an issue that we're running into. So, that's the future. Any questions, guys? None? Crickets? All right, good. Let's have some fun.
Stop the recording again. So that class guy